Hello, all you beautiful book babes. Today we will be starting our convention month. Me and Nicole will be going over books that we have found at our Smut Lovers Convention. This episode we will be diving into the world of MM. We have Kalen, who is in college and at the top of his game in baseball, but having a hard time getting picked up by a pro team. Then we have Monroe, a professor at Kalen's college. One night, Monroe picks up Kalen at a bar. This is a first for Kalen. He's never thought he was gay, but he is so turned on by Monroe, he needs to explore it. It was only supposed to be a one-time thing. Then, when he gets to his new class, he finds out Monroe is his new professor, and it changes everything. They have a hard time staying away from one another. Will their little secret be brought to the light? Stay tuned to find out more. Hello, all you beautiful book babes. Welcome to episode 7. My name is Lexi Haynes, and then
I'm Nicole.
And we are going to go over our convention book. So basically, me and Nicole are going to go to a convention this month. This episode will air before it, but all the other ones will be airing basically during or after.
Yeah.
So this one is Catching Kalen, and this is a dual book. This is by Maya Nicole and Britt Andrews. This one is a little different, so I know how you feel about MM. And this is MM, but it's done in a very cute way, I promise. And I do apologize if you guys hear my dogs in the background. They decided to join the podcast. Stop kicking the desk. Hi, baby. I see you. And so our main characters are going to be Kalen and Monroe. Then side characters, I added Nikki and Baker because they are kind of important. Start off with Kalen. He is at a bar with his teammates. He's like a college baseball player, and they're trying to cheer him up because he wasn't drafted in the baseball league, the pros. He's just kind of over life and kind of done. He runs into a guy at the restroom when he's trying to get a breather. When he is done, he goes back out to the bar to drown his sorrows. It's a little weird. It's kind of awkward when he runs into this guy. Like, he's not sure what happens. But then the guy ran into the guy that he ran into again at the bar, and he offers to buy him a drink. While they're drinking, Kalen thinks he is going crazy because he's attracted to a guy for the first time in his life.
Oh.
So this is very much like New Age coming out of the closet kind of MM.
Right.
Now we get kind of Monroe's point of view because it's dual point. So as soon as Monroe bumped into Kalen, he knew he wanted him. Monroe actually just moved into town and is scared to just come out to everyone in the town because he doesn't know how the town is or will be perceived. Kalen is pretty drunk, so Monroe invites him to come back to his hotel room because it's not fully lived in. And he could tell he's drunk, so he's trying to make the thing like, oh, you're drunk, stay at my place to get undrunk.
Till you sober up.
Yeah, and Kalen is a little apprehensive about going, but then agrees for some reason. Kalen tells him on the way, though, that he is not gay because Monroe is, like, flirting a little. Monroe can tell he's never done this before, so he straight asks him, he's like, if you want to come, come. If you don't, don't. I don't care at this point. When Kalen doesn't answer, he's just like, this is my room number. You can come up. Just whatever.
Like, quit playing games. Do you want to do this or not?
Yeah. So then Kalen shows up, just like knocks on the door, shows up. He's nervous, but agrees to be with him for only a night. I guess because he's like, I gotta see what this leads to. But he also says he cannot go all the way because he's never done that before. He's like, well, he can fool around, but I'm not. Can't do that shit. They take it slow, so Monroe sucks Kalen off, and he is so surprised by how good it feels. better than any girl he has gotten head from.
Kind of like the girl thing. Like, a girl knows how to take care of a girl.
Yeah.
You would imagine a guy knows how to take care of a guy.
Yeah, so that's how I saw it as too.
Right?
Like, Monroe knew what he was doing. He's super sweet the whole time, asking if he's okay, like if there's anything he can do to make him more comfortable, or if it feels good. He doesn't leave Monroe high and dry, but just gives him a handy. He's like, I don't think he can do the mouth thing yet.
Right.
He's like, after they're done, Kalen tells Monroe he needs a moment, but leaves. Just straight leaves him, and it's only going to be a one-time thing.
Yeah.
So he kind of left it at that. So now it's a couple days later. Monroe has been trying to track him down because he wants to not have a relationship. He doesn't do relationships, but he is like, I wanted to go back for seconds.
Right. He wants to get further than what they've got.
Yeah. So since Monroe is a professor at the school, he was pretty sure Kalen was a student. So he decides to look him up in the student directory. There's only one problem. Kalen's major is his class.
Oh,
Now he could not pursue him. Kalen is shocked when he walks into the classroom and sees Monroe as his professor. So Monroe is like, Kalen, stay after class. We need to discuss something. Doesn't really get into details, but then they go to his office. Monroe is so funny because you would think Monroe goes, oh, we got to stop this.
Right.
No, Monroe was like, no, you have to cut the class. You got to drop this class. I don't care what you do, but you got to drop it. I can't be your teacher. Because Monroe wants to pursue him that much. But Kalen says, no, it's just a one-time thing. We're not going to do this again. I need this class. I have to take this class because I failed it last semester because it's a summer class. So Kalen doesn't do great in school.
Yeah.
And he needs good grades to stay in baseball. So he's like, I have to take this class. I can't drop it. I can't take it in the fall. I need to take this class. So it's just, I already told myself it wasn't going to happen again, so this just finalizes that. Monroe agrees with it, but has no intention of not pursuing him. He's just like, nope, Kalen, and this is one of my favorite sentences. He was like, Kalen is mine. End of story. So it kind of has that mind possessive kind of thing. So Kalen goes out with his friend Nikki. So she's asking about his class because she heard about this new hot professor. Kalen clams up and says okay, and she notices, but she just kind of drops it. Once he is back, back to his place, he's wore out, and he decides to check on his assignments for Monroe's class.
Yeah.
He's already late on an assignment.
What? How is that possible?
It was literally just like a paragraph kind of thing, like to make sure you did the reading for it. He says it's already late, and Monroe put in the notes, like, if you turn this late, I will not accept it. You just get a 0. End of story. So the next day, Kalen confronts him about the emails, even tells Monroe if he tried to turn in the assignment, but the portal was broken. Straight bullshit. Just like, oh, it was broken, I couldn't turn it in. But even Monroe's like, you're a little fucking liar.
Yeah.
You just didn't do it. Basically, when they're in his office, Kalen's like, oh, if I agreed to what you were talking about yesterday, I bet you would have taken it. What a little dick. That pisses Monroe off so bad he kicks him out. He goes, just fucking leave. Just go. Instead of leaving, Kalen undoes his pants and takes off his shirt, saying he needs to pass for the class. He just says he needs to pass the class. Oh my god, and Monroe screams at him to put his shirt back on. Kalen then realizes what he did and apologizes. Monroe tells him obviously it's not about his grade, but finding a reason that he can be with him. But he's not playing games. Like, he just is like, he's like acting out. He's trying to find a way to be with him without saying he's gay.
Yeah, without admitting anything.
So they somehow talk it out and figure it out that he's Kalen's under a lot of stress because he wants to get into the pros, but he needs grades and he needs to pass, but no one's taking him in the pros. He hasn't gotten any offers, hasn't been pulled. So, and he's kind of running out of time. This is his last year of college. So he's like, I needs something to happen. So they kind of agree. Kalen is going to show Monroe around since he's new, and Monroe will help him with his assignments. He obviously can't really help him, but he can at least like watch him while he's reading and make
Kinda
sure
tutor.
he focuses. Nothing too crazy. So now Kalen, it's the next day. Like, it doesn't give you time frames really.
Right.
That's the only thing I really miss is that it doesn't give you crazy time frames. So it's either like the next day or next couple days. Monroe is so nervous because Kalen's coming over to help on an assignment. Monroe is really walking that fine line about being his professor and having him at his house.
Right.
It's just that little, like, really pushing it. So Kalen brought pizza. They ate dinner before they got to work on Kalen's assignment. And Kalen is super sweet too. He notices that Monroe is not done unpacking and tells Monroe he can tell has hurt his back while unpacking. So he's like, oh, I can help you. And also, like, once you're done, I can help you, like, work on your strengthening exercises to kind of help your back. Like, super sweet. And finally, in the midst of, like, talking, Kalen admits he's attracted to Monroe, and I wanted to be, like, fucking obviously.
Right.
But he even says, he's like, I'm at least bi.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I can't fully admit I'm gay yet.
Right.
So Kalen is helping Monroe for a few hours. They kind of need a break. And this is where you really feel like the sexual tension. While resting, Kalen decides to just come out and ask Monroe, like, oh, how did you know you were gay? Just like straight up. And Monroe tells him he came out at 13. His parents was accepting, but Kalen kind of scoffs because his dad's old school.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows his parents will never accept him. His dad puts a lot of pressure on him about being in the pros because his dad missed his chance. He got injured right before he went to the pros.
Yeah, one of those.
And now he's putting it on his son. Like, you got to do it because I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But Kalen finally says, fuck it, when Monroe tells him, when you find something that makes your heart pound, you never let go. So that's something that he said when telling him about coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kalen was like, oh, I found it, and kisses him. Oh, he's like, oh no, I found what makes my heart pound. They really start to experiment here with Kalen since he's the only man he's ever been with. They 69 with Kalen on top, but we do get some ass play. Monroe eats Kalen's ass out.
Kind of like easing him into it.
Yeah, he's easing him into it.
But hold up. So imagine like the ass, it doesn't matter if it's guy, girl, I don't give a shit. Poop out of that hole. Like, that's a shower. Like, ugh! Gross!
I mean, it don't bother me.
Oh man, I couldn't imagine doing that unless I'm fresh out the shower. Don't touch
well,
my
duh,
ass.
You gotta be fresh out
well,
the
I
shower.
know, but like, they just finished unpacking sweat ass. Like, they're sitting there sweating. Okay, sorry.
I didn't think about it.
Sorry.
I didn't think about the swamp ass. That's really funny. Oh my god, that's hysterical. Okay, so now it's the next morning, and Monroe decides to leave Kalen to sleep so he can work on his drawing. So Monroe on the side does paintings and drawings for people. It's really cute. Just kind of a little side gig. So when Kalen comes in to make small talk, they make small talk. Then Monroe asks what it is because he does not, like, what are they doing? Because he doesn't want to be heartbroken.
Right.
Kalen asks if they could not put a label on it because obviously he's going through some shit, which is understandable, but I kind of understand both sides. Monroe's like, I don't want to get hurt again, but Kalen is
just he's just finding himself.
Yeah, he's just finding himself. So Kalen's supposed to show him around anyway, so they decide to go out to breakfast, but it's also Monroe's way of kind of going out on a date.
Aww.
When they get to breakfast, they're starting to understand each other. Kalen admits he does not know what he is doing and is scared that people will judge him about being gay. Then Monroe opens up about why he's worried about being with Kalen, because Monroe was some guy's dirty little secret while he had a wife and kids as a front. So, like, Monroe is, like, still traumatized by that because he was someone's dirty little secret.
Right.
Now, they go to, again, it doesn't give me time frames, so now they're going to the gym.
Right.
They go to the gym. because obviously Monroe hurt his back, and Kalen offered to help with strength and training. Kalen has a hard time flirting with Monroe and not pitching a tent. He actually rushes to the locker room like a little kid with his first boner. So he's like, I'm gonna have to go do something about this. So Monroe follows him and takes care of him. Monroe sucks him off, but eases him into ass legging. I think he like fingers.
Yeah.
So he's easing him into it. They leave the locker room separately, but Monroe did get caught rushing out of the locker room by Callan's friend Baker. He did not say anything to indicate that he knew what would happen, but
I mean, if it's a guy's locker room, you couldn't really know. So what if he's rushing out? Something else could have happened.
Exactly.
So he didn't walk in on him.
And that's what Monroe tells Callan. He goes, I don't think he thought anything.
Right.
It's a guy locker room. We're both guys. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
When they're done with their workout, Callan asks if Monroe wants to hang out, but Monroe has a social for like work, just like colleagues and stuff. They make plans to meet up later. So Monroe goes to his work thing, but one of his colleagues asks if he wants to go for a drink. He didn't see anything wrong with it, so agrees and will text Callan after he's done.
Right.
Baker does confront Callan about running into Monroe and asking what is going on between them. Of course, Callan is like deflecting and like avoiding it. He says he is a professor and he's not gay.
Right.
But Baker sees through his shit, and actually comes out to him. He goes, dude, I'm bi. So, I mean, that was super sweet of Baker.
Yeah.
Callan says he's with Nikki, but even Baker calls him out on it because everyone knows Nikki's lesbian.
Oh, shit.
He's like, dude, she's into girls. What are you talking about? You're dating. You're full of shit. Like, Baker is not letting it go.
Yeah. He's like, you're going to admit this shit.
You're going to admit this shit. But he never does. Now you realize what he did, and he's like, shit, now we got to call Nikki and make plans. So he's like, Nikki, I need you to help me. Yeah. He's like, I'm kind of seeing somebody who's the same sex, but I need you to be my cover-up because too many people are asking questions. So they're like, okay, we'll fake date.
So he's kind of pulling the shit that Monroe just went through.
Yeah, he kind of is.
Oh, shit.
But you'll see how it does not work.
Okay.
She agrees, but is apprehensive because everybody knows she's lesbian. So somehow Monroe and his colleague go to the same bar as Nikki and Callan.
Oh, yeah. All towns.
Yep. Where Callan do their fake date. And you can see where this is going because Callan thought Monroe had a work function, but sees him with what he assumes is a date, and Monroe is assuming Callan is playing games when he sees Nikki sitting on his lap.
Oh, shit.
So they're both looking very guilty.
Right.
The colleague is flirting with Monroe. Yeah. He is flirting with him, and Callan just can't take it anymore. He's like, I'm not watching this. So he literally shoves Nikki off his lap and runs out. So Monroe goes to follow him as discreetly as he can, and they get into a huge argument about them both playing games, but Monroe is shocked because Callan says he is done and wants to take Monroe out on an actual date.
I guess seeing another guy flirt with his man,
he's not about that.
No. Got a little possessive.
Yeah, he did. He wants to show Monroe how sure he is now.
Right.
So Callan is getting ready for his date, and of course Baker walks in, and Baker basically tells him to cut the shit. He knows where Callan is going. He knows he's going to see Monroe. So when Callan comes clean and tells Baker, like, he's worried that they'll run out of things to talk about because they're so different, because you gotta think Monroe's an intellectual, he's older, Callan's a college student who could give a crap about grades or reading. Baker tells him they'll be fine and they'll have plenty to talk about. Plus, Callan did plan a great date. So he planned dinner, and then, there's like sip and paints.
Oh, I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, he planned to sip and paint with Monroe because he knows he likes to draw and paint and stuff. So it was so cute. They get to know each other better, and they go to the paint class. And Monroe was really impressed by the date. He actually paid attention and focused on what Monroe likes. It was even off campus, so they could be open. Like, they hold hands to the car, so he planned it accordingly.
Yeah.
He really took his time. Once they get back to Monroe's house, they obviously barely make it through the door. before they're on each other. So Kalen is begging Monroe to finally like take his butt.
Yeah.
And Monroe says he will, but he needs to get him ready. So he pulls out plugs to stretch him out. He has different sizes to kind of like
open you up.
Slowly get him there. So he eventually does get to that, but of course Monroe takes his time. He's very slow going.
It's a build up.
Yeah, he likes to build it up. So they kind of get into the swing of things, dating and everything. Their class is finally over.
Yeah.
So they're less scared now of getting caught. So Monroe goes to one of Kalen's games finally. But this game's a little different. It's the first game of the season and Kalen's parents are there.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're in town and sadly Kalen has to go to dinner with them, but he sees Monroe in the stadium before he goes. Sadly, Monroe runs into his parents when he was with Kalen, like while he was kind of like the Baker thing.
Yeah.
He was leaving and they ran into him and his parents know something is up. They kind of ask Kalen, like, who is that? Like, but they just kind of leave it. His dad definitely figures it out. So they kind of do like a barbecue or something. Like and it has all his teammates and everything.
Right.
One of Kalen's friends or teammates, I think it was God, what was his name? It starts with an M.
Maurice?
No, it's not Maurice. I'm blanking right now. But he says but he asks where Monroe is at dinner. And luckily his dad does not push it. He's like, why would your professor be at this dinner?
Right.
I'm confused. So this sends Kalen into a spiral. So he is piss-ass drunk on the campus with Baker watching him. So Baker actually calls Monroe and is like, hey, I need you to come help me.
He's worried about how his dad's going to react.
Well, not even, yeah, he's worried about how, he's like, my dad knows, like, that's what he keeps saying while he's drunk, screaming into the phone to Monroe. He goes, my dad knows, who cares? I should get a girlfriend. It would be a lot easier.
Oh, jeez.
Like, seriously, but Monroe doesn't take anything to heart. He's
right.
like, this guy's going through some shit. Monroe goes to pick him up. He takes care of him all weekend and says, hey, I texted your dad that you're sick this morning, so you don't have to see them all weekend. They end up having a romantic moment in the weekend, and they confess that they love each other, and it's really shocking because Monroe knew all the time that he did love him, but Kalen says it first.
Aww.
So it's kind of cute. Kalen does have to go see his parents before they leave. They're, like, really OCD, and, like, you need to see us before we go at least. And we know you're sick, but you have to see us.
Right.
We flew all this way out here, so... it's Sunday and he goes to see his parents. They're at, I guess, lunch or something at a place before they leave. So Monroe over the weekend kind of went to town on Kalen's neck and has a bunch of hickeys.
Love bites.
So when his dad sees it, he asks, who's the girl?
Right.
Kalen basically comes out to them and says, there is no girl. What a way to come out.
Yeah.
I kind of really like it. So his dad calls him every derogatory term. I won't even say the words like that. Yeah, the nasty terms. And actually ends up punching him. While this happens, Monroe is called to the dean of the school. So apparently his dad reported the relationship and is now getting investigated. They're both going to have like a hearing to see who needs to be punished, what happened, all this other stuff.
But they don't know about the relationship starting in summer school, so they could say it just started, and that won't have any effect on them.
I think like a lot of policies, like even if they're a student and you're a professor, if they're not in your class, you're not supposed to.
Really? I thought it was just if they were in your class or, in your department or something like that. But yeah, because I can still see the power play dynamic with that. But yeah, that's surprising.
Yeah.
Screw his dad, though.
Yeah, so his dad reports them, and Monroe's really sneaky about it. The dean is like, I can't tell you who did it, but Monroe was able to see the name on the corner of the sheet of the report, and it's his dad's name.
Gotcha.
So basically, the dad is pissed. So when the dean basically tells him it's going to look better if they break up now, because then they're like, oh, you're taking consequences. You're like, oh, this happened, this was wrong, we're going to break up, we're not going to date, we're not going to see each other. So Monroe goes to his office and he's trying to think of the best way to break up with Kalen. But he stops dead in his tracks when he's seeing a smiling Kalen with a black eye. Like, really confused. Like, you're injured, but you're smiling. Of course, Monroe asks how he got it, and Callan just says, oh, it was because of baseball.
Why would you lie?
Because he's so excited to tell him he came out to his parents. Oh. That's what he's so excited about. So he can tell he's excited about something, but Monroe stops him and told him they need to break up. Callan thinks it's a joke. He goes, are you, like, testing my love? What's happening?
Right.
They literally just told each other they loved them. So he's, like, really confused why he's breaking up. Monroe explains that someone reported them, and now they're in trouble at the school. Callan is pissed because they should be able to work this out. He's like, you're not even going to take my feelings into consideration?
And especially because Monroe was the one to chase him so much. Like,
exactly.
You would think he knew the consequences. He knew what could happen if they got caught, and he still pursued them anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's the messed up thing. It's like now he's just up and leaving. Callan admits, basically, he's like, I came out to my parents for you. And Monroe's like, wait, is that who gave you the black eye? Callan is like, does it even fucking matter anymore? And rushes out of the room. I mean, I'd say the same thing. I'd be like, does it even fucking matter?
I did all this for you and whatever you're doing, ending everything.
Yeah. So Callan has been moving around because of the breakup, and Baker finally decides it's enough. So it's Callan's birthday. Literally, like 2 weeks later, it's Callan's birthday. Poor guy. And he says enough's enough. He's going to take him to a ball game to cheer him up. Callan is driving, and they're talking about his hearing because it should be coming up soon. Baker's like, oh, when's your hearing? So Callan tells Baker that he could not wait and asked them to push it up, and it was yesterday. Baker's pissed. He's like, why didn't you tell me or talk to me? Like, why didn't you ask me to come? I would have been there to support you. So Callan tells Monroe kind of a little about it, but he just says Monroe won't get in trouble at all. What he did, he basically told the school board that he I don't know how to pronounce the word. Coerced Monroe into the relationship. Baker is pissed because Callan will get expelled, he'll lose his baseball career, everything will go down the drain. Callan tells him he does not care. He could not watch as the guy he loved would lose his livelihood. Aww. So even though he really hates him, he's like, I can't do that to him.
That's sweet.
So Callan is just the sweetest as can be. I love him and adore him. Like, he was a little asshole in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning, but he didn't know who he was.
Yeah, he was figuring it out. They're on their way to the baseball game, and then everything goes dark.
Ooh.
Yeah, they get into a terrible car accident.
Oh.
Yeah. So Monroe is now, it's in his point of view, and he's at his hearing. He is nervous that he will lose his job. So they invite him in, ask a few questions, but say because of the situation and what happened, all they'll do is put him on probation. He's really confused because he doesn't know, and ask them to elaborate on it. So they actually show him a video of what Callan said.
Oh.
Yeah, they were able to show it to him because technically that's illegal, and he can use this video to press charges to Callan. But Monroe knows what really happened. So It's like, I don't want to press charges. And then after watching it, Monroe tells them everything. That they fell in love with each other so hard that it hurt, that Callan had the strength to come out to his father, who hit him because of it. After that, they just kind of dismiss him, don't say anything on it. They say, oh, they got what they needed. So Monroe rushes to Callan's place because he is pissed that Callan would put himself in that situation to basically get expelled and lose his baseball career. So he tries to call him a few times on the way, but there's no answer. He basically wants to tell him how much he loves him and that he was an idiot for not listening and considering his feelings. When he gets there, though, he does not find Callan. He finds one of his teammates crying, telling him there was an accident.
Oh, damn.
Yep. Now Monroe is in the hospital. Of course, his parents aren't there because his dad basically disowns him.
Of course.
Monroe's at the hospital with Callan's friends and teammates waiting for news. The nurse finally tells Monroe about the accident, what happened. Basically, a parked car pulled into oncoming traffic and completely sideswiped him. But Baker was in the passenger seat, so he is alive. He's actually in a coma.
Oh.
Right now.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, Baker's in a coma, and he's probably never playing baseball again.
Oh, shit.
Callan's a little better. Luckily. She goes, okay, he's awake, but you can't see him because visiting hours are over. Monroe is not having it, though. He's like, I'm going to sit in the waiting room then until visiting hours happen, and I'm going to go see him.
Of course.
Because I love him. So Nikki comes over. He tells Nikki what everything the nurse said, and Nikki says that's great, and they should go, head back to campus. But straight up Monroe's like, no.
I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving. And kind of snaps at her, but she's like, Nikki's so sweet and understanding. She's like, it's okay, baby, it's okay. I'm not mad at you. So Nikki says Baker and Kalen are tough, and they'll be there to take care of them. But Monroe corrects her and is like, if Kalen will still have them because they're technically still broken up. And she kind of tells him no, Kalen is still in love with you.
Right.
He's just being kind of stubborn. And she tells him, go to his room, try to sneak in, go see him. Because obviously you need to. So Monroe makes it to Callan's room, and Callan is asleep. But Monroe finally gets a good look at him and actually becomes sick because he's so beaten up on his side and his eyes swollen shut. It's gruesome, and Monroe feels awful, so he actually gets violently ill in the bathroom in the room. He keeps thinking he should be the one in the hospital, not Callan, because he's the one that hurt him. Callan did nothing, so he's just it's super sweet. But he does kind of make a vow when he's at Callan's bedside that he's not going to leave him. He's going to do everything and take care of him and make sure he's there for him. So then he falls asleep in the chair next to the bed. Now Callan is out of it, of course, but he can kind of hear everything that's going around him. Callan is tossing and turning in bed and hears Monroe that he's okay. He's just in the hospital. Then he hears the nurse come in and try to kick Monroe out. But the last thing he heard before kicking out, Monroe was like, no, please don't make me leave. I love him. He's the love of my life. Because she asked, if he was family.
Right.
And he was like, I love him.
I love him. That doesn't count.
No, that's not family, sir. Now it's the second time he's waking up. He's awake more fully and opens one eye. The other one is swollen shut. And he sees Monroe, and Callan asks Monroe what happened. Monroe tells him that him and Baker were in an accident on the way to a baseball game, and that Baker is in a coma because the car hit his side. Callan feels like he is to blame and feels absolutely slick. Monroe asks if he's okay because he kind of went quiet thinking that.
Right.
And Callan's just he's tired and wants to go to sleep. So he goes back to bed. Okay, this is the third time he's waking up, and Callan's mom is there now.
Aww.
Not the dad, but the mom. So Callan's mom is thanking Monroe for calling her because Callan's dad tried to cut her off from contacting Callan. He tried to get a hold of him when she found out about the accident.
Damn.
And now she has actually left. He left her and went to go see Callan. So now he canceled all her credit cards and debit cards, so she's dealing with that too.
Oh, shit. Trying to make sure that she cannot reach out to her son.
Yeah, so she was just stuck. Monroe tells her that she can stay with him for as long as she likes, but Callan's super confused and sleepy when he's waking up because he's just what about your dog? Why aren't they working? And she kind of explains, your dad cut me off because I came to see you. So it's the next day. Callan made Monroe and his mom go home the night before so they could rest. Monroe offers his place to stay till he gets better, and Callan just tells him that he wants to sleep in his own bed. Even his mom's trying to convince him because his mom likes the idea of them too. His mom chimes in, and Callan just begs her to stop. She's like, please stop. I don't want to go to his house.
Right. I mean, they're still broken up.
Yeah.
Sure, he's there, but I'm sure Callan's still hurting.
And that's what in Callan's head, he's like, it sounds like a crappy romance novel. I'm just going to jump in your arms because you're here.
Yeah,
now that I'm hurt. No, I'm not doing that crap. So the nurse comes in and tells Callan he can come home today and that there's no word on Baker. Baker's still in his coma, sadly. So she starts unhooking the IV and the machines from him, and Monroe, this is actually one of my favorite lines because it's kind of true. Monroe is now worried because she is unhooking the last lifeline Monroe had to Kalen.
What does that mean?
Like, once he's out of the hospital, out of his house, Monroe's not going to have any contact with him.
That's true.
Because Callan's going to push him away. And I thought it was just the cutest little line in the book. Because I'm like, oh, I feel for Monroe. Monroe, you did it!
He's not going to give up, though. He better not.
No, he's not. Monroe is driving Callan home, tells him there's a gift for his birthday in the back seat, even though it's late. And Callan just says he sees it, but does not open it, does not acknowledge it. He's just staring out that window hard. So Monroe and his mom try to convince Callan again to stay with Monroe, but he is not having it. He even tells them that staying with his ex is not his idea of a good time. I'm like, damn, dude. So Monroe helps him into his house, though, because his mom gets a call from the banks. She's trying to get her cards unfrozen.
Right.
So before she leaves, she tells Monroe, just give him some time, he'll come around, because apparently he's going to have mood swings because of the medicine. Or, like, I guess the pain meds.
Yeah.
So the doctor kind of warned them, like, hey, he's going to have mood swings. So when Monroe gets Callan settled, Callan asks him to leave because he needs space and that he cannot do this now. It's just too much for him. Monroe gives him his present and tells him he will, but is not giving up on them because he loves him so much, and then leaves. Callan's hanging out with Martinez. That was his name. Damn it, why didn't I put that before?
Yeah.
So he's hanging out with Martinez, and his friend asks if he's spoken to Monroe. I think Martinez, I want to say Martinez because that's near where we live.
Right.
Martinez is concerned because Callan finally opened Monroe's gift one night and literally found Callan clutching it, crying.
Aww.
So the gift was a sketchbook filled of drawings that Monroe did, and they were all of Callan and Monroe.
That's so sweet.
Like, one is Callan in his uniform. There's another one where Monroe's giving him flowers.
Aww.
So I'm like, oh, this is so sweet. Somehow Callan was not expelled. He just has to retake his tests for the class to kind of confirm those are the grades he got.
Right.
He thinks it has to do with whatever Monroe said to the board. At his hearing, Callan gets a call from Baker's dad. Baker's finally awake.
Woo.
Yeah. Baker's finally awake, and he needs to find a ride. He calls his mom, but she is at an interview, and she can't drive him. So he calls the only person he knows that will drop everything.
Oh, damn. Oh, damn.
The only person he knows who would. So he calls Monroe, and at first Monroe says he's at work, he really doesn't have time right now, but then Callan cops an attitude and is like, just fucking forget it then. And then Monroe stops him from hanging up and tells him, he's like, okay, give me 20 minutes and I will be there. So Callan knew he was kind of being a dick to Monroe at this point, but he couldn't help it. The doctor said the drugs would kind of mess with his moods. So when Monroe picks him up, they say hi to each other, but they don't really talk. Monroe just drives him to the hospital. When they get there, Monroe offers to go in with Callan. Callan tries to be a little nicer and is just like, no, thank you. He's really trying to be nicer, he just can't help it.
Not only that, I'm sure he's still heartbroken too, so on top of the medicines, you gotta think, like
your ex is just popping back up in your life on top of that.
All because he saw a video and was like, oh my god, I love you. Like, Jesus, dude.
I kind of, I loved Monroe at the beginning, but then, towards the end, I was really mad at Monroe.
Yeah.
Callan's like, hey, can you pick me up after visiting hours are over, and I'll just hang out with Baker until then. And he's like, sure. So Monroe goes and leaves. Callan sees Baker, and Baker basically tells him, like, don't blame yourself. But also, when the conversation gets deep about Callan and Monroe, there's a really funny joke. So basically tells Callan, don't give up on it. That's the realest thing he's ever seen is what's between him and Monroe. He even proves it by asking Callan to wipe his ass, and Callan's just like, ew. And Baker tells him, he's like, well, you would have wiped Monroe's ass, wouldn't you? And he's like, damn, you're right.
What the fuck?
It's so funny. I mean, it's true. Wouldn't you wipe your husband's ass?
Fuck no!
Well, my husband's ass.
I would not. No. Dude better figure it out himself.
But yeah, it's like, oh, oh, that's kind of cute. It's funny but cute and proving a point. Like, it's just the best scene. So Monroe goes to pick up Kalen and is praying basically because he does not know how to get through Kalen to give him the time of day basically. He's basically close to breaking. He's like not getting any sleep. He's sick to his stomach every day. He's like, I gotta stop this soon because it's just he's not giving me the chance.
But then he thinks that's gonna stop the sickness and stuff. Like you're not gonna get over the heartbreak just because you said I'm giving up.
Yeah, so he picks him up. They're riding in silence again till Kalen finally screams at him to pull over that he can't be in the car anymore. Monroe pulls off an exit, and for some reason there's a tomato farm. It's an important detail that I have to say. Kalen gets out of the car and Monroe follows. Kalen asks what his angle is with all of this, helping him, his mother. Monroe asks if he wants to get into this really, like, right here. And he says yes. It's as good a time as any. So Monroe basically tells him his mother had nowhere to go. And she's a kind woman. Like, she's trying to support you. I'm not going to stop her. I'm going to offer her help so she can support you in your decisions.
Right.
So he doesn't want to fight, and he basically tells Kalen, like, please just get in the car, let's go home. Like, I'm just kind of done with this fight. Kalen tells him he does not get to make those calls anymore. I love that. Like, you're telling me to get in the car? No.
Yeah, we're doing this.
Yeah, we're doing this right now. And Monroe calls him a child, and it's so funny because Kalen basically tells him, like, oh, so that's what I was to you, a child, for you to fucking get over. Like, you didn't... Kalen tells him that he's too young, and that's why he can't take him seriously, and why he leaves him. Like, that's why you left me, because you were done with me. And Monroe is getting pissed now, because Kalen's basically telling him he used him for sex. Monroe tells him he gave up everything to be with Kalen, but Kalen corrects him because at the end he really didn't.
He really didn't. He broke up and tried to save his own ass.
Yeah, like you can't do that shit. Monroe asks why he did what he did during his hearing because he basically gave up school and gave up the chances of baseball, and of course Kalen's just like, because I love you. Duh!
Right?
And Kalen actually throws a freaking tomato at Monroe. That's why the tomato farm comment was important. So he's straight, and you gotta think, he's a professional baseball player, so he belted.
Oh shit.
The tomato exploded on his chest.
Ow.
So Monroe tells Kalen he fucked up and that he loves him and wants to be with him. And he even said he was like, I thought the 2 weeks waiting for the hearing was hell till he heard Kalen was in an accident and had to basically wait till he had woken up. He was terrified with what happened with Kalen. So Kalen tells Monroe to take him home. He's like, just take me home. They get in the car. But Monroe took this moment of opportunity. Because there's tomato on his shirt. So he rips off his shirt and takes his water bottle and, cleans himself off a little bit. And Kalen complains saying he knows what he's doing, but Monroe acts all innocent. He goes, am I just supposed to wear a shirt that's seeping with tomato juice? Like, I kind of got both sides, but I think Monroe really did take that opportunity.
Hell yeah.
So Kalen tells him he's thankful. His mom calls Monroe saying, oh, I got the job at my interview, and Monroe says congratulations, all that fun stuff. Once he hangs up, Kalen grabs a hold of Monroe's hand, thanks Monroe for taking care of his mom when he couldn't. So that was super sweet, and Monroe took it as a win because he's like, he didn't let go of his hand, so it's like, finally.
Yeah, right.
So this is another one of those scenes I really love. So when they pull up to Kalen's house, Kalen surprises Monroe by telling Monroe he would wipe his ass and Kalen would wipe his.
What the fuck? Why? Why?
Kalen keeps thinking about freaking Baker's thing and actually comes out and it's like, Monroe, you would wipe my ass and I would wipe yours. Like, Monroe's like, are you having problems?
Why would you just look at this guy like he's crazy? Like, what the fuck?
He kind of does. He just looks at him surprised, like, is that something from your accident? Like,
do you need help?
It's so funny.
Oh,
Oh my god. But then finally, after saying that, Callan grabs him and kisses him. When they break apart, Callan tells Monroe he loves him and asks if he can still come over. Monroe tells him to buckle up and take Callan to his house. And this is kind of where I left off because I didn't want to ruin the ending.
Sounds good.
I didn't want to ruin the ending. Well, hello, all you beautiful book babes. I am sorry for the interruption, but I am pleased to tell you today we have our first sponsor. So, this episode is brought to you by Dubby. Dubby is an energy drink with no sugar, but does not give you that jittery feeling or crash after you drink it. It has no fillers, artificial colors, dyes, sugar, or all the other BS. My personal favorite drink is the Beach and Peach for when I need that extra pick me up when editing our podcast all night. All you have to do is click the link in the description, or because I know links can be a little finicky, go to www.gubby.gg and in the coupon code field put SMUT, SMUT, for 10% off your order. Thanks for listening. So now we're going to get into the rating. So, spice, I gave it a 4. It's really good spice. It's detailed, but it doesn't get into the gross stuff about butt stuff we've talked about, why you don't get into MM.
Besides wiping the basses.
Yeah. But that's something different. That's not about that part.
You're right. That wasn't smutty.
It wasn't about that part. It was supposed to be a cute moment, Nicole. God damn it.
Jeez.
I want you to go home tonight and tell your husband, like, I would wipe your ass and you would wipe mine. That's what he says.
Jesse would be like, fuck no. He's asked me, he was like, hey, you want to come hold my hand while I go potty? And I'm like, dude, I don't want to be anywhere near that bathroom while you potty.
Nope, not us. We don't care. We're no shit's given here.
I was like that with my ex. Like, my ex and I would be sitting there and then all of a sudden he'd come in and just put a cigarette in my mouth and light it or something. Like, we would be sitting there having conversations while one of us was using the bathroom. But with me and my husband, it's like we keep things private. Like, we
try to. Like, you know, if he's in the bathroom, the only time I really go in there is like when I need to get something. Like if I have shit to do that day and I need my straight and iron and it's in that bathroom, I gotta go.
Well, I mean, my thing is like I am what is it? I'm a nervous peer. So like I do monthly drug tests, and let me tell you, every month whenever I have to get my drug test, it is impossible for me to do it because I know someone's outside waiting for that pee. It takes me so long because I know that sometimes they do like yearly, they have to watch us do it, and the whole time I'm sitting there like, I can't fucking pee in front of you. Why are you in here? Like, it's so bad. So if Jesse was to walk in the bathroom on me, I would immediately freeze up.
I think mine is because of sports. Like, I had softball tournaments that would literally be 10 to 12 hours long.
Oh, hell no. Yeah.
So literally, I would have to go in bushes. My mom finally learned after the second one to bring toilet paper for me and my sister because we would have 12 hours. The bathrooms were just so disgusting, we would rather go in the bushes.
Oh, yeah, I've seen
my mom would bring toilet paper and we would literally go in the bushes.
Absolutely not. See, I never used to be that way. It was just, I don't know, just one day I couldn't be in front of people or anything else. It's like weird.
Yeah, it's just sometimes. Smut the plot, it's an equal amount. Like, there's enough plot for the world building and kind of everything. Humor, at first I gave it a 2, but then I forgot about the ass comment or the wiping of asses. I think I want to bump it up to like a 3 or 4.
Yeah. Especially the swamp ass.
Like, he freaking died. Oh my god. Emotional, I gave it a 4 just because you really get kind of trapped in like Monroe's head and Callan's and like where they're especially during like when he gets hurt.
Right.
That is such an emotional, like, I don't normally like cry over a book, but I was actually
getting goosebumps.
I know. I was so upset and like I literally cried myself to sleep that night reading that scene. I felt like so freaking like emotional about it.
That's how it was with Degradation. Like at the ending of Degradation, like I fucking cried.
Exactly.
I was bawling my eyes out like, oh fuck.
Like, obviously they got back together, but what an emotional roller coaster.
It is. These authors know how to pull you in and...
Yeah. I mean, the world building, I gave it a 4 too, because, like, the world building. You really get lost in the story and the build up and like the battle that Kalen goes through. And it's not even just their relationship. It's like what Kalen goes through with his dad and his mom.
That's
You
true.
like really feel all your feelings. So overall, I gave it a 4 out of 5. This was my first MM book ever.
I was just about to ask that. Was this your first MM?
Yeah, it was, and it's nice. Like, it's a cute, like, there's some relief, because obviously, you know, some of that stuff gets gruesome with the sex stuff.
Right.
Like you said, but this one, like, after a sex scene, one of them goes, oh, I need to just go clean up.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Saying I'm going to clean up, but not the disgusting shit like what happened. Like, I don't need that many details.
Yeah, you told me what happened in your book, and I'm like,
Yeah.
ill?
Yeah,
Like,
that was
no.
just horrible.
No, this one was really nice and, you know, did not get into the... Obviously, there was butt play, and
Right.
you knew that, but she didn't get into the gory details about it.
But even so, like, I don't mind butt play whenever it's a female and male, so, like, butt play isn't a problem for me. It was the gory details of the shit after, like, it's like, I don't... Talk about gaping holes in the ass.
And when I told you I was reading this one, because there were so many... to the convention we're going to, there are so many MM books.
Yeah.
There's so many. I was like, I gotta do an MM book. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I literally don't. So, and then you told me your horror story, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, this is gonna be so disgusting. But it wasn't bad.
No,
it really wasn't.
It didn't sound too bad. I mean,
No.
you didn't really go too much into the details of the smut, but it didn't seem like it would be that bad.
No, it wasn't bad at all. So it's a really well-rounded book with smut. It doesn't get into details. The plot's really good and detailed. So all in all, it is a really good book. So this is our first convention book. We're going to do a whole month, so there'll be 4 episodes, and it's all going to be authors that are going to be at the convention. So this one was, I think, Maya, Nicole, and Britt.
Oh, nice.
I think both of them. I don't remember. I know Maya's definitely going to be there, but I also think Britt's going to be there. I'll have to double check that. We're going to go to the convention. We're going to keep doing these episodes, but also while we're there, we're going to be posting on social media, on our TikTok, Instagram, maybe doing live videos. So please make sure that you subscribe to our podcast, but also our TikTok and our Instagram. We have a Facebook page. All you have to do is search up Basic Book Babes podcast, and all our social media will pop up. Another thing is Nicole's idea for November suggestions.
Oh yeah, I was like, what are you?
Your eyes got so big.
I was like, what did I say?
Oh my god, that was the best. That was the. I wish our podcast was videotaped so they could see your face got so big and like, what are you talking about, me?
Oh yeah. So November, we have no idea what we're doing for November. We need suggestions. So if you want to suggest a theme or even a book, like if you just want to say, hey, I want you to do this book, that's fine. Just leave comments and we'll do it.
Yep. So make sure that you please follow the podcast as well. I think we even went international. Someone from Germany listened.
Woohoo!
So we're getting there. So we'll be getting there. But that's really it. And I want to thank you, beautiful book babes, for listening today. And you have a wonderful day. Bye. Bye.